This one worked and this one worked. Hey, hello. How are you? I hope you're well. I am trying this thing again with the multiple lives in the different places. So if you're watching and I'm not looking at you, I'm still here. I'm still here. So yeah, I just wanted to go live today to talk to you about this week's blog because this is one that I've had like in the works for a very, very long time, and I'm very, very happy to finally share. If you're on Instagram, you may remember a while back, like a long time ago, I was talking about like Netflix shows and kind of asking you what Netflix shows you watch that are multilingual. And when I say multilingual, I don't mean like, oh, this show's in French, or oh, this show, I love this Japanese show, or whatever. I mean things that have different languages in the same show. So that's what this is about and what this post is about. So I want to share with you because I've got loads in this post. Like there's 23, maybe more than 23 actually in the end. But there's also most of them are like recommendations, but there's some that I've like watched all the way through and absolutely loved, and that's why they're here, and that's why I really wanted to share this with you. So I'll talk you through some of these. So the Casketeers, this is such a joy. If you've never seen this, it's basically about it's a reality show, like a real kind of documentary style, and it's about a funeral parlour in New Zealand, in Auckland, owned by a Maori family. And so it's like really cool because you see all these different like funeral, what would be the word, traditions and customs and all of that. And so it's mostly in English, but then there's bits of Maori, there's bits of Samoan and Tongan, depending on who is in that episode. So yeah, highly recommend that. And then the next one, Unorthodox. So this is the one that actually started this idea for this post for me, because you may have seen this one, right? So it's in English, but it's also in Yiddish and it's in German. And what I love is how big this show was with 3 languages, like that kind of stuff. Like the same reason that I just get very, very happy that, K-pop is so big, because it's like the just language into popular mainstream culture is really important. How much of a second or third language counts? Good question. So I was quite generous. Like some of these shows are mostly in English, but then they've got bits of sprinkling. So I think they're really good, like if you're just curious about language, or if you are maybe a beginner and, watching like a whole show would be quite a lot. But yeah, I was quite generous, but there are lots that are in another language and then in English, or there's ones where it's episodes in one language as well. So it's quite interesting. So yeah, Unorthodox, if you haven't seen it, amazing. And what I love is how like fluid it all is in Unorthodox. It just is seamless, the language changes. Okay, another one, Hentified. If you have not seen Hentified, then just, yes, please add this to your watch list. I love this so much. English, Spanish, and Spanglish. Third, I'm including that. Just, it's so interesting to see in a very kind of realistic like portrayal, it felt, of the language in different generations in a I think Mexican family in the US, but living in the US, right? And so how the generations use language and how they use it between them, and then across generation, like really, really interesting and just a really entertaining show. Another question. How are you guys going? Well, is there a particular topic for the live chat? Yes, the topic is multilingual Netflix shows. And in a minute, I'm going to show you, so stick with me. I want to walk you through my Netflix study pack as well in just a moment. So yes, that is today's topic. The next one that I've seen and that I recommend is Nailed It. So this is one where there's different versions of the same show. So you may have seen Nailed It in English, right? Like the American version of Nailed It. There's Spanish, both Mexico and Spain Spanish. There's German and there's French as well. So what's cool about this is because it's the same structure and the same format, right? If you've already seen the English version of Nailed It, then you know that like you know what to expect and you know what's going to happen. So when they begin to say these little things again and again, like, nailed it, when they lift the thing and you hear that translated, these little phrases that they say all the time, that's really cool. So nailed it is a great option for that. Another one, which I'm not as much of a fan of, but is Sing On, right? So Sing On is quite new. I watched a bit of the Spanish version. I didn't really enjoy it, but it's there and you might enjoy it if you like that kind of I can't think of what the name is, but there's like a karaoke show, isn't there? I can't think what it's called. But if you like that, then you might enjoy this. There's English, Spanish, and German at the moment, and it looks like it's one that maybe in the future there might be more of as well. So that's one to watch as well in that similar kind of funny reality vein. Another one, oh, there's a question. So are you looking for suggestions or just I'm giving you recommendations. So a while ago I asked for suggestions, and these are also in this post. So be sure to go to the blog, lindsaydoeslanguage.com, and you'll see it on that main page. You'll see the post with, there's like 23 suggestions. I'm just going to talk you through the ones that I've seen. Two Together is one. Korean, Mandarin Chinese, and in English, where you've got this Taiwanese star and Korean star traveling around Asia. So if you like travel and if you have learned either one or both of these languages, Korean and Mandarin, then you can kind of see them used side by side, which is really cool as well. Home Game. Oh, I love Home Game. This was a real surprise. This is one where there's different languages in different episodes. So there is, let me give you the full list. I'm not 100% sure on some of these languages, but it's like location based, right? So Italian, there's English, there's Tagalog, I think possibly a more local language in that episode, in the Philippines. Kyrgyz, like Kyrgyzstan, so Kyrg, I think I'm saying that right. French, but it may be a Creole. It's in the Congo. Indonesian, but it's in Bali, so it may be Balinese. I wasn't 100% sure on that one. So, but Home Game, really interesting. It's about sport in different parts of the world, like real kind of unusual unusual sports. So yeah, recommend Home Game. And Street Food, kind of similar to Home Game. If you like that kind of like travel show style, but focused on something a bit more specific than just, we're going to the place, here's the Eiffel Tower, right? Then Home Game is a really good option. Home Game. Street Food is like a similar thing. So whereas Home Game is sport, Street Food is about food, which you may guess. So here's the full list of episodes: English, Thai, Japanese, Indonesian, Taiwanese Chinese, so Hokkien, Korean, Vietnamese, Malay, Mandarin Chinese, Cebuano, Tagalog, Spanish, and Portuguese. Like, honestly, Street Food, it's got heart, that show. It's got real heart. You will love it. And yeah, they're the ones, that's my recommendations. Yes, we're also live on YouTube right now. I'm trying this thing. I'm experimenting with this thing, which is very cool. So yeah, and there's loads more on the blog. Like I said, Queen Sono, Ultimate Beast Master, not Beatmaster. Loads and loads that people have recommended here on Instagram, over on Instagram. I enjoyed Sense8 from about 2 years ago. Diverse cast characters. Yes, Sense8 is on the list. A lot of people said about Sense8, so that's on the list, but I've not seen it myself, but it's on the post. So yeah, so while we're talking about Netflix, I wanted to talk you through, if you've not seen it already, my Netflix study pack, which is totally free on the website. On the post, if you go to lindsaydoeslanguages.com and then you just scroll down a bit, you'll see this post, 23 multilingual Netflix shows. You click there and you'll find the little box talking you through how to get this. So basically, of course, we can just watch Netflix and be like, oh yeah, isn't this great? I'll learn a language. And that's kind of like half of the thing. But if you really want to make the most of it and you want to like use, your enjoyment, if you like, that you found through Netflix, then this is going to help you do just that. So here's how it works, right? First of all, dun, 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 you can see that. Create a watch list, hit list, right? So there's space there for multiple languages. I've printed just a like tiny version so I can hold it up. I find A4 like really flappy when I'm trying to talk. So you've got like different space for different languages, and of course you can print this as many times as you want, as you need, and you just write down what you want to watch, give yourself a little deadline when you want to watch it by, and then a little checklist to see if you've watched it. Right now you can of course to be like, I want to watch I don't know, Street Food episode 1 or whatever, right? So you don't have to be like the whole show, right? It doesn't have to feel like an endless task to be able to tick off stuff from your watch list. Then there's very much like a process going on here. So you've got a page for before watching, for during, and for after as well. So before, you've got space to talk about what you know about this show or film already. So what do you know already? I've told you some things, like I've said how like Nailed It is kind of this funny, goofy reality show. It's about cake. So you've got an idea of what you might expect. You know, they're not going to be talking overly formally in that show, right? So you can use things like that as clues as to what to expect. What vocabulary and expressions might I hear? So based on that knowledge, what do you think is going to come up? So if we keep with Nailed It as our example here, then you can think, okay, what do I know about cake, about baking, right? How do I say sugar? How do I say sweet? How do I say taste? Delicious, not delicious, all of that stuff, right? So you can add all of that here, and you don't be afraid to use a dictionary. It's totally fine. You can't see it on Instagram, sorry. It's totally fine to like, you know, research in that stage if you want to. And then is there anything that you're going to be using to help you do this? So for example, subtitles, transcript, or anything else, absolutely fine. There is nothing wrong with using subtitles. There's nothing wrong with using a transcript. All you're doing is giving yourself the best chance. So you get to decide when and how you use these things, right? But don't ever feel like, oh, that's cheating. That's not real. If I'm doing that, it means I'm not a good learner. Like, that's rubbish, right? Absolute rubbish. They exist, right? All you're doing is denying yourself a chance of something that might help you. Don't do that, right? So then we've got the drawing page. Let me just come over here. Hey, Jack M. I'm currently studying A-level French and German at school, and I've just been told about work experience. I'd like to go to university and study languages. Any ideas? Oh, that's a lot. Maybe we can come back to that's a big question. Okay, during watching then. So when you're actually watching, yes, you want to be watching. Yes, you want to be, you know, enjoying it, but and by the way, this isn't like every single time you watch something on Netflix. This is just when you want to make that experience a much more active learning experience rather than an enjoyment, a passive kind of integrating the language into your life. And when you do want to do that, then that's when these pages come in handy. So during, you've got this page to keep things in check, right? So nice simple boxes so that you can kind of just jot down what needs to be, you know, you don't have to be writing full sentences, paragraphs, none of that. You just things that as they come up. So you've got space for want to work on pronunciation. So maybe you hear them say a word and you're like, oh, that's a really useful thing. I've been saying that wrong this whole time. Like for me in French, like important, like always say that differently. Only studied a little but recognized. Go me. So things that, you know, celebrate these small wins, right? Watching something in another language is like, you can't expect to know and understand everything all at once, right? Even like in my strongest languages, I still like watch things and it takes me some time to tune in. And even then there'll be things that I don't know. So rather than focusing on, I don't understand it all, therefore, I've still got work to do. Right? Focus on the small wins. So only studied a little bit recognized. So what did you actually notice? Even if it's just someone walks in the room and they say hello, right? And you're like, oh, he said hello. And it was in Indonesian. So he said, selamat sore. So I know it's that time of day, right? Those kind of things all count. And when you just see them there, you can then at the end be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I know more than I let myself believe. Brand new and worth learning. So anything that you're completely unfamiliar with, I'm going to try and hold it this side so you can see on Instagram. Anything you're completely unfamiliar with can go here, and you can keep track of that. Didn't expect to see in that context. So I feel like it's really useful when when you learn a word and then it comes up maybe in like an expression, or there's like a different meaning that you didn't know. That's a space where you can keep track of that. So you're like, oh, they use cold both for temperature of the weather and for like being, the cold shoulder, that kind of thing, right? So you can keep that here. Feeling brave, have a go at transcribing a very short section of what you're watching. So transcribing, basically, you listen, you write everything that you hear. Now you see how small this box is because you do not need to do this. And I do not recommend that you try and do this for the whole thing that you watch, for the whole 20, 30-minute episode or like hour and a half film, definitely not, right? But just say, okay, 10 seconds. I'm going to just listen. I'm going to rewind. I'm just going to really narrow in on this moment and write everything there. So you can do that here. And use this space below to try using the newly familiar and out of context language that you made a note of above. So then when you've written things that were new or that you didn't know until now, you've got space to actually practice that there. So that's kind of during and then initially after, right? So you don't have to do this bit right away in the moment, but it's there. There's a couple of questions, so I want to check in that before we come to the after page. I always use the subtitles a way to find out how to sound more natural. Yes, especially since most shows on Netflix use a more informal style of languages. Yeah, that's a really good point. And also on that note, it's interesting that sometimes the subtitles and what you hear are different. So that can be really interesting as a way to like develop your vocabulary and be like, oh, well, they said this, but it said on the subtitles that, and you can kind of draw from that, especially as you begin to kind of get intermediate and more advanced. I just joined, so sorry if this has already been mentioned, but is there any way you can find movies in a certain language? Anywhere, sorry. Learning Croatian, there aren't many resources to learn. Yeah, so what I'd recommend is if you just search on like IMDb or just literally the internet, Croatian movies or best Croatian movies or Croatian, whatever you like, genre, horror movies or Croatian, I don't know, drama movies or something like that. And then you might see what's around. And in terms of Netflix, if you just go onto the general search in Netflix and you can type in like Croatian and see if anything comes up. Another option is that there might not be any shows originally made in that language, but there may be subtitles. So you never know. How about Netflix and VPN? I have like never used a VPN. So I can't speak to that. Like the times when I have tried, like when I've been abroad, I've just never had any luck with it. So yeah, I don't know. But if you can use that, then great. You have access to more. Okay. Final page of the free study pack, which you can get if you're just joining lindsaydoeslanguages.com. Sorry, lindsaydoeslanguages.com. That's right. And then scroll down on that homepage and you'll see the blog, 23 multilingual Netflix shows. That's what I've been talking about earlier today. So you can rewind and watch back to catch that. And you'll be able to download this as well, all of these pages. All right. So after watching then, so it doesn't just end. It's not like I always find this, I used to find this with like listening where I didn't enjoy listening exercises. So I would be like, oh it's finished, and kind of like, yep, okay, I've done that, tick the box, I've listened. But actually going in after and doing work, that's when real stuff can begin to form. So just reviewing what you've done. Did I guess any of the language I encountered correctly before watching, right? Good thing to think about. What new language is worth remembering? How will I learn this new language? So just thinking what you're going to do to actually get it in your head. Is there anything else I want to add that's worth learning? And what will I change next time I do this? So you're constantly improving yourself and getting better at that process and making it work, adapting it and making it work for you. So yeah, that is everything I wanted to say today. You've got the little pages, which I put on half paper so I could hold up easier against my head, but you can print it however you like. And it's digital as well. So you can actually just watch it digitally, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I think that is it for today. Be sure to take a read of that post. So many more recommendations there than everything that I've just said. All I've shared is my ones that I've seen. So have a look for sure, and I will see you very soon. Let me just check. No more questions. We're all good. All right, and enjoy the free study pack as well. It's on there, lindsaydoeslanguages.com, and you'll be able to get the pack on that blog.